Who is Hrishi? When did you first realize that you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Did you sell any of it? How did you get your first customer for that app? What's the most important thing that you want your kids to learn? Welcome to the JOD Pod, a micro podcast where we interview CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, authors, and coaches. Today we are joined by Hrishi Mittal, founder of Learnetto. Great to have you with us today, Hrishi.
Thank you, James. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be on the JOD Pod.
The JOD Pod. Nice one. Thank you. So for those of us who don't know who you are, who is Hrishi?
Hi, I'm the founder of Learnetto, which is an online place for indie creators to publish educational books, courses, and content subscriptions. I'm a developer myself, as well as a business person, so all in one machine running this online education business.
That's fantastic. And how long have you been running it for now?
It's been around 4 or 5 years, on and off. It started off as a small project. I went full time on it for a bit, then started doing other things. So it's been on and off for a while, but now I'm working full time on it. It's my main gig.
Awesome. When did you first realize that you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
Oh, when did I first realize? It was a while ago. Actually, in my former life, I used to work as a research scientist doing air pollution research here at King's College London, and I realized, a few years into that job, initially I was quite excited. I really wanted to do research, but as I did more of it, I realized that I liked the idea of doing research more than doing research itself. I found it too slow for me. Too slow moving. And I always thought, one day I'll probably start my own business. I come from a family of sort of business people. So for me to do research in the first place was a weird thing to do. But I was just kind of following my curiosity. And then I realized, this is not for me. I literally quit my job one fine day, sort of shocking everyone, and went and started my first startup, which was a data visualization app. Yeah, so that was about more than 10 years ago now.
10 years ago. And that was the first business you ran, a data visualization app.
Yeah.
Did you sell any of it?
Yeah. So, it was called Pretty Graph, and I ran that for 2-3 years. It did okay. I basically made every mistake in the book. Because I wasn't a software developer by training. So I learned to build it while I was doing it. I had never run a software business before. So I was literally just learning everything on the job. But I was just excited to build a product, get it out there. And, I had a few customers and users all over the world using it. But yeah, like I said, I made so many mistakes. I just got burnt out in the end. I was maybe I should do something else.
Man, that's cool. How did you get your first customer for that app?
Wow, good question. That was a long time ago now. I think probably, there used to be, there probably still are these sort of startup websites where you can announce, you're launching a new product. I think Beta List was one. Yeah, so that I probably did a bit of that. Hacker News was really sort of the place to launch things back then. So that was one thing I used. I used to be really active on that. These days, people do Twitter. Product Hunt is the big one. There was no Product Hunt back at that time, and the product was actually aimed largely at academics. So, and I came from that world, so I kind of reached out to people I knew.
So you could deliver to people that you're already in your network.
Yeah, but largely it was people kind of searching for this tool and finding it themselves. Yeah, it wasn't so much me. And to be honest, that was the big mistake I made is I didn't know anything about sales and marketing. So I really had that attitude of build it and they will come, and wasn't the greatest idea.
I've renamed that ostrich marketing now.
Ostrich marketing. I like that.
So what I know you've changed a lot now. What are you working on now, Hrishi?
Yeah, so after that sort of first thing, over the years I tried a bunch of stuff, and then I sort of did freelance and consulting work along the way. But yeah, now I work on Learnetto, which is the online education platform. Yeah, that's what keeps me busy.
Awesome. What's the elevator pitch on Learnetto?
Yeah, it's basically a really easy and affordable way of publishing educational books and courses. So there's lots of different platforms now, you can lots of different ways. Learnetto is simple in that it's one, you can just go to the one place and publish everything. And it's designed as a marketplace. So instead of everyone getting their little island of education, which is easy to, you can put up a course. And as I learned, the hard part is actually getting customers and people to actually come and learn from you and buy your course or book. By making it a single destination site, a marketplace, we make it easier for people to find you. Especially if you're starting out and you don't know a lot about, what tools to use, or how you're not sure about how to teach online, we really help you get set up and get going.
So is your main funnel that you're looking for people to teach actually on the platform to launch courses and books?
Yeah, so it's both, because it's sort of two-sided. Like the one side is getting more teachers and people to come and create content, and then the other is to get more people to come and actually learn on the side, the student side of the platform. But there is a bit of overlap. So there's many people who are, who teach, but then they're also are interested in courses, or who come to the site as students or as people who want to learn, but then end up creating content themselves.
That makes sense. Yeah. So what would be the kind of teacher that you would think would be most successful on the platform at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So like initially when we started, it was mainly software or web developers, because that was my background. And I initially created a few courses and some content myself. And so that attracted other developers. But now increasingly we are moving, sort of expanding our reach. And just recently, a couple of weeks ago, we had a person launch a Salesforce admin course, which is not sort of aimed at developers. So yeah, that's sort of more of the audience we're going for now. People who are, teaching any kind of modern skills, which help people change careers or do new professional things.
Okay, and what's the pain do you think that a course creator is feeling right now that makes Learnetto an absolute no-brainer as the place to launch their course?
Yeah, sure. So there's, currently in the market, if you see, there's two different types of sort of extremes, I find. There's sort of the really big marketplaces, which, have a lot of reach and customers. So they promise you, a lot of, students or customers. The problem is you have to give up all control. So you don't have any direct relationship with the customer. I know several people, without naming sort of, competitors, people who've had huge success with their courses on these platforms. But when they want to take the next step and do their own thing or bring people to their own website or, or in their own world, they don't have any contact information. They have no way of actually maintaining that relationship. So they leave these platforms and having to start from scratch, from zero. So that's one extreme where you can get some reach, but then the platform completely owns the relationship. You don't have any relationship with your own customer. On the other hand, you have sites, other platforms which give you complete control, right? So you get your own website and everything. But for a lot of people, that is overwhelming. You just want to create, teach online. You don't want a whole website and all the things that come with it. And for a lot of people who Learnetto appeals to, they actually need help with getting customers as well. So you can create your own website and put courses up there for sale, but if no one's coming to your site, then that's not much use. So we're trying to, create something which is sort of a golden mean in between these two extremes. So not only do we help you get set up and get a bit of an audience, so we already have tens of thousands of people signed up and using the site, so you can come and put your course or book in front of them. But we also let you keep that direct relationship with your customer. So you get access to their email address. And also right now, pricing wise, we only make money when you make money. We take a small share of the revenue. And as we scale, we'll introduce a flat fee sort of subscription model so that if you start having huge success, then you keep most of the revenue still yourself.
Sure.
So essentially we're trying to kind of forge a middle path between the sort of we own everything marketplace and the you are on your own self-serve model.
Goldilocks model.
That's right.
Not too hot, not too cold. That sounds
Exactly.
that sounds really good. And I think it's one of the things for any creators out there is that you don't want to necessarily create an entire ecosystem all on your own, but using a platform like Learnetto, you don't have the headaches of having to build out everything yourself. You can concentrate on what you do best, which is teaching or sharing the knowledge that you've got.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
and we do, like, in terms of promotions, recently we started doing live workshops with our teachers. So basically, we'll do the promotion, we'll host a live workshop where you can come and teach your topic of interest to people, and that brings in new people into the fold. Usually we'll make these free. And then as people join them, then they're interested. Oh, like this person sounds like they know what they're talking about. And then they go and buy your book or course. So we're doing lots of, promotion activities for our teachers.
awesome. We had I announced that we were going to be having this interview, Hrishi, on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. We've got a couple of questions that have been fired at you from the JOD pod audience. George has asked, what's the most challenging part about getting people to teach on Learnetto?
Oh, that's a really good question. One of the biggest challenges I've noticed is a lot of people don't think a lot of people think they have to be like the top level expert in a field to teach. And so, and that's not true. Like basically, if you know anything, teaching is about sharing what you know so that people who don't know that, who are a couple of steps behind you, maybe, they can learn from you. It's all about just helping people by sharing what you already know. So one of my challenges, like with positioning and just the philosophy of the platform, is to change people's mindset and to make people realize that you can help others learn without thinking of yourself as a teacher. So that's almost like as if you're learning in public, and that just watching you, people can learn. So yeah, that's one of the big challenges.
That's great. That's in parallel with one of the reasons why I started the JOD pod was that you actually learn best from someone that's just like one or two steps in front of you, rather than some huge important influencer / guru. Actually, just hearing people that are just going through these steps now can actually motivate people to step out of their comfort zone and start doing and creating something. So that's really interesting, Hrishi. And then on Twitter, 2 questions from Alethea.
Yeah,
A little bit of curveballs here. So what's the most important lesson that you've learnt from your kids?
From my kids.
And what's the most important thing that you want your kids to learn?
Right. Yeah. Hey, Alethea, first of all, thanks for the question. I know Alethea from Twitter, and she was actually a guest on my podcast just a few days ago. She's a great expert on sort of service design and learning design, so I recommend people follow her. What was the best lesson I've learned from my kids? I would say the biggest is to not lose your sense of humor and your imagination. Like they're just so creative, man. Like they come up, like I tweeted this yesterday. I've been reading the Harry Potter series with my oldest son, who's 7, and yesterday on the way to school with him, we kind of came up with a plan to write our own Harry Potter fan fiction. And just in that like 5-minute walk, we made up all these crazy scenarios about how the characters change, and like Harry dies, but then Dudley becomes the wizard, and like all sorts of crazy stuff. So yeah, that's the biggest thing. Like the kids have just amazing imagination. I think we all do. We just kind of start discounting it as we grow up, and lose our sense of humor in all the silly little things of life.
It's a shame, isn't it? Like, the child's perspective on things is such an important lens that you should be able to bring yourself to everything.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really cool. What you're describing there is, I don't know if you've heard of the Marvel series What If?
Yeah, I have, yes.
And you're basically describing a what if scenario for the Harry Potter universe, which could definitely be a film. So get that idea, write it down now. And get
Oh
it in
yeah,
there.
yeah. And my son's really good at like writing stories, like making up stories. So we will actually probably write this. It'll be fun.
Fantastic. So
And the other question,
yeah.
sorry, could you repeat that again?
Yeah, so what's the most important thing that you want your kids to learn in the future?
Yeah, that's a good one as well. So I think somewhat related to that point is, and I think it kind of is something Steve Jobs said once as well, is like everything you see around you was created by people just like you, you know? So don't take the world for granted, like, oh, this is how things are. It's just some stuff some other people made up, not so different than our Harry Potter fan fiction, you know? So yeah, like make new stuff. Don't take the world for granted as this is how it is and this is how it'll always be. Yeah, just trust in your imagination and, you know, make it come true.
Awesome. Yeah, like, you know, don't put things on a pedestal. It's just us humans, just like you and me, that could create things. Some great perspectives there, Hrishi. Thanks, man. Are you ready for some quick fire questions?
Oh yeah, let's go for it.
Oh yeah. What's your favorite app or SaaS product that you use every day, like Notion, Trello, or Canva?
Oh yeah, I'm real old school. I love this app called Simple Note. And as the name suggests, it's a simple app which for note taking. It's not as fancy as all these new sort of, you know, Rome and all Notion and all that. It's just literally does what it says on the tin. I can't recommend it enough. Simple Note. I use it all the time.
Easy. Thanks for that. And what's your most recommended book?
Oh, most recommended book. Let's think. There's one that comes to mind called Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. Like, again, as the name suggests, it's sort of a Zen. It's a book about and by a sort of a Zen master. It's really interesting. Like, even if you're not into sort of Zen or meditation or anything, it'll give you a really interesting perspective on life, and having a beginner's mind again relates to sort of kids, you know, having that innocence and sort of imagination. Yeah, I recommend that.
Great connectivity of ideas there, Hrishi.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. This wasn't planned, okay?
Who's your favorite YouTuber or podcaster at the moment?
YouTuber podcast. I love Gary Vee. Always like he's awesome. Like given his sort of reach and, you know, like how famous he is, he still feels so down to earth and so cool. I love that guy.
Cool. Who do you think's going to be the next Elon Musk or Denise Coates, the CEO of Bet365?
Oh, the next Elon Musk. Oh man, I don't know. Like if you're on Indie Hacker Twitter, like there's some crazy like cool people. There's this kid called Baraket. I don't know if I might be butchering his name. His handle is Hey Baraket, Bereket. I think he's like 12 or 13. And he just ships products like there's no tomorrow. Like, he puts me to shame. So yeah, if I had to bet on someone, why not him?
Wow, that's a nice one. Plucked out of nowhere. Fantastic. And where's the best place for people to find you, Hrishi?
You can find me on my website, learnetto.com. So that's learn, Learnetto, learnetto.com. Or you can follow me on Twitter. That's Rishio, Hrishio.
Fantastic. There we have it. Hrishi Mittal, founder of Learnetto, a platform to help you learn fun and useful skills from independent teachers. He managed to get his first customer through Hacker News 10 years ago now, back in the day. His most used app is a simple note-taking app called Simple Note. His most recommended book is Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind.
That's right.
He loves watching and listening to Gary Vee on podcast and on YouTube. And he thinks that we should be keeping an eye on Hey Burkett from Product Hunt. We'll put links to all of those in the show notes. You can find out more about Hrishi, the founder of Learnetto, by heading to learnetto.com or following on Twitter at Hrishi with an O.
Hrishi with an O, that's right. Hrishi.
Hrishi
That's what my grandma used to call me. So
fantastic. And thank you for joining us today on the interview on the JOD Pod. To ensure you don't miss any of these episodes, make sure you subscribe, hit that like button and bang the bell. And if you've got any questions for me or Hrishi, leave them in the comments below. And we'll be sure to get back to each and every single one of them. If you want to be like Hrishi and create something, go build something today and inspire the next generation. Hrishi, thanks for joining us today on the JOD Pod.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
If you enjoyed this interview, why don't you check out some of these other interviews that we've done on the JOD Pod. More inspirational CEOs, coaches, entrepreneurs, founders, and authors. I'm sure there's something here that will inspire you to build something new.